welcome back to the Big Blue Lifers podcast. I'm Mr. U, that's Jess. We're here to talk all things New York Football Giants. Before we get into all the festivities, I want to check on my boy Jess, man. How's it going, brother?
It's going all right.
Oh, brother.
Planning my move in for the apartment. Once again,
sweet.
I've gone back to looking at furniture is better for my mental health than watching my favorite football team.
Oh boy.
And it's not even remotely close.
Oh, well, congratulations on a new spot. I know you're excited about that.
Thank
the
you.
Furniture thing, that can be a fun situation, but this is there's no real comparison here. So you didn't have to even do that because there's no comparison.
I was looking at, I'm moving off of my folks' health insurance. Let me look at some of the company policy benefit plans. And I'm like, this is infinitely better than watching the New York Giants.
Since last week's game, I was working for stuff in my garage, and one of my nails, short story, got knocked off.
Oof.
That was more enjoyable than what happened in the last 30 seconds of yesterday's game. But we're going to get into it, man, because there's a lot to go there. Let's take our time and pace ourselves because there's just a lot to talk about. And I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of things that I want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
I won't call it a rant. I'm going to be on specific points. And I got some questions for us before we get out of here. So let's take our time, pace ourselves. I don't know how you want to start, but I guess I just start with the fact of the matter here. Our New York Football Giants play the Denver Broncos. I'm going to put Jess on the block for a second.
Mm-hmm.
He felt like it was going to be a huge test. I felt like the Eagles that's the world champions. The test doesn't get any bigger than that to me. So we didn't really totally agree on that part. The Giants came in and proved me right for about 3 quarters. Shut the boys down. They couldn't score anything. They couldn't do anything, including drive the ball down the field. Nothing was happening for them. The Giants were dominating outside of the field goal kicking and extra point kicking situation. They were pretty much dominating the game, which was surprising because the Denver defense, I believe, was number 1 ranked, I believe.
Number 1 in pretty much everything.
Yeah, so we basically did the impossible. The makers for a great story in the beginning anyways. Got to the 4th quarter, and we saw something that can't call anything more than a collapse. Only 2 teams have scored 33 points or more in a quarter since 1991, according to the Associated Press. If a team had 19 points in the 4th quarter, they usually win those games. I don't know what the percentages is, but they usually win those games easily. Well, the New York Football Giants, who we talked about throughout the year, they always seem to do something incredible and impossible and ungodly all at the same time. And they allowed the Broncos to come back and score 33, I would say, unanswered points, correct? Well, most of them unanswered points. 33 points anyway in the 4th quarter and a win. People talking about field goal kicking and all. They only score 1 point, 2 points. I hear that, but I can't get past the part I think is most important. The defense gave up 33 points in the 4th quarter. I can't get past that part. Talk about field goals and talk about Jude and what happened. We had Young Wade, whatever. The defense that we thought was going to be vaunted, that was going to be potentially an elite defense, gave up 33 points and made some of the worst history that we're ever going to hear about. People talk about that comeback against the Colts that the Vikings did in 2022. But honestly, I don't really remember that much. This is one of those situations where I bet you everybody's going to remember this. You're never going to forget about this. This is unheralded. 33 points in the 4th quarter. What an embarrassment! I don't know what else to say. This was awful.
Sorry, I want to let you go before I go because we both know how I can get.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, let's pace ourselves because we're both. There's nothing that we're not going to agree about today. I don't think. No. But this is incredible, and I know that I saw sort of Spider. He was just like super upset, stormed out of the press conference, really mad. Okay, that's warranted because it's 33 points in one quarter. People in the NFL, these are elite teams, elite offenses, elite defenses. They don't do this kind of stuff. That's why it's so rare. This doesn't happen on a regular basis, and it happened. And I don't understand. I don't understand how it happened. I'm not seeing how this is possible. I can't blame the offense. I can't blame Dart, even though he does things sometimes. You better work it out of you if we really end up yourself really hurt in this league. That's rookie stuff. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with what happened on the offensive side, even with the flubs and the plays that got made, like Theo Johnson, for example. In my assessment, I'm gonna say this up front before we even get to the show. Malik Neighbors, Jackson Dart, Cam Scott, Theo Johnson. That's the future of this team. I think these guys should be the mainstay because they had the potential to be great. Okay, they had the potential to be great at those positions in years to come, barring any kind of health injuries and that kind of stuff, health-related injuries. That's the future. So I'm excited about that because I haven't seen anything that gave me any kind of hope, positionally or any other way. So that's the future of this team. On the defensive side, you know who it is. Guys like Abdul and Spotty, you want them guys to be there forever if it's possible. Andrew Thomas, Dex. We got somebody said it on a broadcast. I don't even know what time it even came on. I saw a clip. I didn't even see it on TV. They said this team has talent. And you know what? As much as we have dogged them the past 2 years, at least, the commentator's right. This team has talent. Everybody I named, I didn't even name Kayvon. They got talent. Everybody else is expendable. How did the team have 33 points in the fourth quarter? Let's go ahead and get into where you want to go, man. There's a lot to talk about. I have a lot of questions. I want to talk about coaching staff. I want to talk about Dayball and Bowen. I want to talk about the defense as a whole, everything. But go ahead and jump us off, brother. Where we going?
Well, you said we're not going to disagree on much, but I am going to start off by disagreeing with you on one thing. You said there's no other way to put it other than it was a collapse. I disagree. It was a historic collapse. That was
historic.
The last 1,602 teams that had a lead of at least 18 with 6 minutes left won that game. That streak was ended by the New York Giants. The most points scored in the fourth quarter in NFL's history was 34. I don't remember when that was done or by whom. The Giants gave up 33. And while that might not have made history, it was, however, the most points allowed in the fourth quarter in NFL history when you shut out your opponent in quarters 1 to 3. So it wasn't just a collapse. It was a historic collapse. They weren't up by 14 points and then just let the game go. It wasn't even what Philly did, not last week against Denver, not scoring anything, in the second half or however that game played out. Now, this was an unmitigated, unprecedented meltdown. And as we're going to be going into throughout this pod, if the Giants of the last 10 to 15 years have taught me anything, I think we're about to see this team completely unravel. I think they're going to go to Philly. I think they're going to get their teeth kicked in. I think this is about to spiral on them, and I don't see a way Daboll survives this season now. Not that, and we're going to get into this, I don't even think this game was really on him. I've seen a lot of people talking about these things, but I think they're going to lose the locker room. I think this team is done. I think it's done. That being said, I do want to start with some of the positives. Brian,
hold on before you get there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay on Dayball. We might as well go ahead and hang out there for a second to get this question that I got out. He was talking about how he was not making any kind of coaching changes I guess it's Shane Bowen, and you're talking about something that we referenced a couple of times at least about what he'll make it or not through the season. I don't know if I feel like the team is. I guess maybe this one we may not agree totally. I'm not sure we're the worst team in this league. I think there's some teams worse than us.
We're not going to be playing the Jets and the Dolphins. We've already lost to New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of hard to go lower than that. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't blame him for this for yesterday either. But if we're I feel like we can do better defensively in regards to coaching. We're mentioning Bowen a lot in a very short season. His name is getting mentioned a lot. That's not a good sign. I mean, if we're not mentioning the O-line coach, that's a good sign that the O-line probably is doing well. If we're not talking about this,
it is. We
don't mention the O-line that very much. Even the games that they lost, that we thought they shouldn't have lost early in the season, we didn't mention the O-line that much. The defensive line, we mentioned them because we thought they were going to be better than good. We thought that about them. And we talk about Bowen's name at least 3 times on this show. We mentioned that's 3 weeks we mentioned Bowen. I'm like, that's probably cause for some concern, call for some change. So you feel like he's not going to make it. I tend to agree with that, especially if we're going to go down the spiral that you think they're going to go down. Honestly, I don't know anything that we can do outside of winning every game that's going to save Dayball's job. I feel like help me, man, with this, because I feel like I'm not saying that the locker room is lost, but it just kind of feels like we can do better than this with the head coach and some other players who we can do better, other coaches as well. We can do better than this, and I feel like if we settle for this, we're asking for what we've been getting the past several years. I feel like we have to make the changes. We got to do something different. You know what I mean? Did that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, I agree that, I've seen some mention about, and some discussion about like if we were to fire Bowen, who would replace him? And I think the most popular name is Andre Patterson, the D-line coach, who I think he does have some experience with defensive play calling. I don't remember exactly how much. I think it was in the 2020, 2021 season. I think he did some defensive play calling. But the Giants right now are at a point where the reason I don't think they win another game this season, and it's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, knowing the Giants, we're going to lose like the next 8 or so in a row. And then somehow we're going to beat the Raiders to move from pick 2 down to pick 7, because of course we would. And, this cycle is going to continue the way it has. But I just don't know how mentally tough these guys are. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope for Daboll's sake, because Daboll is this weird, he, like so many things about the Joe Shane and Brian Daboll tenure. Daboll himself is a weird coach. And like, he comes in, we're a mess of an organization. He's supposed to be this younger offensive mind who can maybe help fix Daniel Jones up a bit. And in year 1, with no cap space, leftovers that had sucked the past few years of the Gettleman tenure, Daboll and Shane come in, work some magic with, signing these guys for like vet minimums, and they wound up coming in, they played these roles, and we make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. We win a playoff game for the first time since the 2011 run. Then we get our teeth kicked in by the Eagles in the second round. And after that, it seems like Dable, when we look back, he didn't want to keep DJ. But they kind of seemingly had their hand forced by Mara, forced by this bizarre scenario of DJ was the truest definition of a system game manager, where it's just don't lose us the game. And we had to pay him over $40 million. And Dable, I think when you look back at, video and all these sorts of things, he didn't want to keep DJ. And he then had to keep DJ, who was a mess here. I know what he's doing in Indy, but he was a mess here. He wasn't making reads. He wasn't delivering accurate passes. He was just a shell of himself. And now that Dable finally has his guy, and I do think Jackson Dart is Dable's guy, not Shane's guy, Dable's guy. And Jackson Dart has actually been really good so far. He's had his rookie mistakes, but at the end of the day, he led 5 touchdown drives, regardless of how they got them. They scored 5 touchdowns on the best defense in football at that team's stadium, with Wan'Dale Robinson being the only wide receiver in the game to catch a pass for the Giants. Lil Jordan Humphrey did not catch a pass. Jalen Hyatt did not catch a pass. Wan'Dale Robinson was the only wide receiver to catch a pass on Sunday. But it is way too late to try and be giving Dable like any kind of leash because, well, it's year 4 and we're still suffering. Now it seems like the offense is kind of clicking. We dropped 34 was it on 34, 37 or whatever on Philly and 32 on Denver.
34-17 on Philly. 34 on Philly and then 32 on Denver. Yeah.
But now he's like, okay, well, now we're going to have weird clock management at the end of the game, something he has struggled with his whole time here. We once again cannot figure out the kicking situation. And I don't know if this is his decision, if it's Shane's decision, if it's Mara's decision, but now we are refusing to fire Bowen, who we have lost 2 games of scoring over 30, leading in the final 30 seconds to walk-off field goals.
I'm going to answer your question that you had regarding Shane.
I just don't understand why we can't get the little things.
The more that I hear what you're saying and just sitting pondering to listening to you, I'm like, I don't know how he makes it. No matter what happens, I don't agree that the Giants aren't going to win any more games. I don't believe that for a minute. I feel like they were going to be competitive in this game, and they almost flat out won it. It was an anti-miracle because they didn't win this game. They were about to make history, Denver Bronco history. It's been 66 years since they've been shut out. That was about to happen. So I know they have it in them to do that. I don't know how he survives. And mentioning Shane there, I think it's a package deal still. I wavered on that a little bit back and forth because of what I was seeing, but it's a package deal. And I don't think either one of them will be able to survive the season, no matter what we do. Because people are going to always say, you know what, this team has talent. I heard from people who, I'm surprised that they said that because I never heard them say too many good things about the Giants recently. These are people who are well-known names, well-known in the football arena. They played, they commentated, they have great sterling reputations, and they said this team is really, really talented. It makes the indictment, what you said, everything you just said, it makes the indictment even bigger. It's like, okay, because the little things you can't get right. That time, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, they put up a 53-man roster. How many guys do they have on the roster? 51, right?
1.
Did that make a difference? You think 2 kickers would have helped us? If nothing else, 2 kickers wouldn't have helped us yesterday? So that part, and then you got the time management. Would you see that a lot? I feel there's issues with adjusting in game sometimes as well. I see that as well. And then on top of that, you got this thing with the kickers and can't figure out who can give us 1 or 2 points or 3 points at the most. to help us stay in games. And everybody else in the league is doing this. You got guys like Koo, who's on the practice squad. I'm not quite sure why. Greg Joseph, he can kick. I mean, he had some challenges where I think he was in Minnesota and in Cleveland. The man can kick field goals. Guess what? He's at home and he can even get a phone call. Are we waiting for Justin Tucker for week 10 to come back out? Are we going to wait that long? To get somebody who can be a competent kicker on this team to show up with an obvious issue? It goes back to the coaching again. It goes back to Daboll. I don't care if he did anything wrong yesterday. All the things that you name is going to go back with him because that's how it works. The head coach got to take the responsibility. And I just don't know how he's going to make it. So I think it's almost about that time. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I don't think he's going to survive this season, no matter if we're winning or not, because as long as we have talent like this and we're not winning more games than we were predicted to win earlier in the season, it's going to fall on him because, like you said, and that thing about the 4 years, I love that you said that because that's the bottom line. What's different this year than last year besides Jackson and Dart? What's different? Besides Abdul Carter, what's different? Besides Cam Campbell, besides the players, what's different from the coaching standpoint and what we've been seeing? I haven't seen anything different. How can you expect more when what you've been seeing is probably the ceiling for Brian Daboll?
I mean, right now, again, like, there are plenty of things that I like about Daboll as a coach, but it's this stubbornness. And this is, again, it's not just him. It seems like for every good that they do, him and Shane have an equal, if not greater, negative kind of rear its ugly head. Like, okay, we've got this offense now. Daboll's got his quarterback. Things seem to be working well. But you're not going to be able to figure out the kicking situation. Okay, how does that even happen? Because this is 5 games now. 5 games in the Brian Daboll and Joe Shane tenure where, due to a Graham Gano injury, we can't win it. We can't win a game because of a kicker. 2023, I think it was Jets and Bills. Last year, Washington. This year it was this week, and oh my God, what other game was it? Was it the Chiefs game? I think it was.
That what? What about him?
That Gano was injured, and then we couldn't kick, and then he had to kind of play through the injury. Or either way, we've entered games without healthy kickers, and we've lost. And what other team does this happen to?
I don't know if they out there.
I said this with the New Orleans loss when we lost to New Orleans. When the Giants, what has made part of this so painful is that the Giants don't just lose because they're bad. It is cartoonish. There is something about the way that they lose that is just an added layer of humiliation from it to this day still being an NFL meme of when Daniel Jones could have had the longest quarterback run for a touchdown in NFL history and falls flat on his face and no one touches him. Just trips over his own feet. To not being able to find a healthy kicker.
You would get that one out of
having the record. You would get that one out of for like over the past, like, I don't even know how many years, no other team has had like more than one walk-off 60-plus yarder had against them. The Giants have like 5 or 6 now. Like, there was always a way for them to be the embarrassment of the National Football League. And it is exhausting. And the craziest part about it is, for all of the crap we give Shane Bowen, rightfully so, he was calling an excellent game for 3.5 quarters. Well, more so 3 quarters. And then Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland are out. And we have to finally put in Deontay Banks. And that's all of a sudden when it seemed like everything fell apart. I don't know if that's the causation, but the fact that there's any correlation is truly saying something.
That's a big jump.
Like, why do you keep trying to make him work? Your stubbornness about Graham Gano and the contract you gave him has cost you games. Your stubbornness about Evan Neal that was an active detriment to this team. Your stubbornness now with Hyatt and Banks and these guys, and it's just not working. And we have other corners on the roster who you could if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least try something.
I'm with you. And I love the word stubbornness in this case because it just feels like his ego won't allow him to make certain decisions. It feels like he has something to prove. I don't know who he's trying to prove it to, but it's not to the fans because he's not for us right now. But it's like he's trying to prove something to somebody, and I feel like we're running out of time, and he's running out of time. I look at his injury report. I didn't even see Holland's name on the injury report, but I know that he was injured. But the list of people who's on this list, it's a lot of guys banged up with stuff. If it's not a hamstring, you know how it can beat you. The hamstring is not nothing to play around with. It takes a while sometimes. Multiple ankles, but that's meant like well, that's the way in Denver Sunday. But ankles, knees, and pecs, it's like a match unit. I'm like, the chances of us winning, not winning any more games, it's not totally it's not impossible with all these injuries. And Dayball, stubbornness, we don't have room for it right now. We got to be innovative and smart and kind of play above our heads because we don't have a lot of wiggle room here. We don't have time to mess around. And I feel like what you said is he's not that kind of coach. He doesn't think like we want him to think. He's kind of doing his own thing out there, and it's like it's not for the good of the team. I don't think I would want him as a kicker anymore for the rest of this episode, if it's possible. If I can avoid the word kicker, because it's starting to boil inside of me a lot right now. I'm like, you mean to tell me that we're getting beat by this situation? All the things that we can name, this is the one that's going to be the undoing of a potential season where people have been talking about this stuff all morning and end of day yesterday, that if certain things were in place, even with the kickers, we're in potential, can I say this? That we were actually in the running to be in the playoffs. That's what they said. Mathematically, it's the truth. We couldn't win games partially because we couldn't kick extra points and kick field goals. It's not just last week, it's before that. And I'm like, wow. It's going to fall on his head. We got a lot of good players on this roster, man, but I think you said it too offline, man, that the coaching part is leaving a lot to be desired, man. It's making me want, like, how do we fix me? You have to almost let everybody go, and especially on the sidelines, and almost, well, most, not everybody. I'm just mad about this stuff, but most of the people who are we talking about, they probably not, they can't make it for this whole season. We can't have them here. We got to do something else. And now they talk about the injuries again. We're still back on that because not just Adebo and not just Holland. I heard Spider was in a walking boot after the game. I'm like, a walking boot.
According to him, it's nothing major.
Yeah, I know.
He's one tough SOB, Burns. He plays for everything.
I say the same thing. If I was him, I would say the exact same thing. It's nothing, no big deal. But the point is that more than half of the team is banged up.
I mean, look, it's the NFL. Players are going to be banged up, but it's the fact that, again, like, Paulson and Adebo goes down and everything fell apart in the secondary. It is like Drew Phillips is a phenomenal tackler. If he was like, I think I saw it was Bobby Skinner or somebody say, like, if he was 4 inches taller, he would have made a heck of a linebacker. But the truth is his coverage skills leave much to be desired still. And Flott has been great so far this year. Like, Flott has made plays, but if one guy goes down, you can't give up what they did. You can't collapse like that just because I mean, it was like the entire play calling shifted. And look, at the end of the day, I mean, this team has talent, and we shouldn't be falling apart like this. Like, this was looking like the day, honestly, through 3 quarters, that the defense finally comes together. Dexter Lawrence was having his best day of this best game of the year so far against the highest rated offensive line in football. We were getting to Bo Nix. We were applying pressure. The secondary was batting things down. And yes, like every team in every game, there were times where the defense was bailed out a little bit by a Bo Nix overthrow here, or he just didn't see an open guy there. And that's going to happen. No team is perfect. Even the 85 Bears gave up a bomb every now and then, or the Legion of Boom, had a breakdown in coverage every now and then. But, it was really feeling like, could this be the defining game, the game that turns it around, that Dable can truly hang his hat on as like, look, we went in, we did this, we're riding off of this momentum. And instead it turned into a game that, again, like I think might cause the final collapse of this regime that leads to such a spiral. They're gone. And whoever coming in, look, you're going to have a top 3, top 5 pick. You're going to have these good pieces, enticing job to whomever. But I don't know. There's nothing that I think is going to be able to. There is no fix right now. There is no fix outside of, one, you got to get rid of this kicker. Look, they've already said they're not getting rid of Bowen. All right, we're stuck with him. Praying for health for Holland and Adebo. That is just something that, they had to leave the game with, and they'll be ready for next Sunday, There's been no updates, no news about that. But something you can do is get rid of this kicker, Jude what's-his-face, and elevate Younghoe Koo, sign Greg Joseph. I don't know, but you can't. If they go in to Sunday's game at Philadelphia, having made no changes, then even if they win that game, they should be fired on the spot. Because you can't be that inept. You can't be that stupid, right? Like, I'm not crazy for thinking that no team, no coach, no GM could be that stupid. Like,
you hope.
But if there was going to be any regime, it would be whomever's on the Giants, right? Like, that's how this goes. I can't, like, am I crazy?
No. I seen the light with this, man. I'm not saying that this is the greatest team since sliced bread, but I've been watching the greater part of 14 years of what I think is ineptitude. I feel as though we've been, like you said, a laughing stock in many years. I kind of hedge a little bit on this year in that space, but that's just my personal opinion. But past 14 years, we've been a laughing stock plenty of years, because especially everything since Eli, we've been subject to be in that place because it's been ineptitude, from the head coaching to defensive coaches to the O-line coaches to players on the field, the quarterback. There's been a lot of bad stuff going on football-wise in East Rutherford. The reason why I love coaches who are smart, like Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin, even Bill Belichick in his heyday, if there's 3 minutes left on the clock and you have a lead, you know what you're not doing? You're probably not throwing the ball. You're probably running the ball because it's about clock management at this point. You're running the ball. And it just amazes me that this person who we got finished talking about, head coach Brian Daboll, is so Can I say arrogant? Is that a good word to use?
I don't know if it's arrogant, but certainly stubborn.
Okay, he's so stubborn. Let's use just word. I'm gonna use arrogant, but I use just words today. Stubborn. He's so stubborn that he just can't make himself do the smart thing for this team and win the game. He has to do something. He got to be innovative and maybe perhaps showcase Dart. That's not what this is about. This is about the team winning. He said that it was a collective loss. Brian Burns didn't agree, but he should have agreed because it was a collective loss. The offense did give up 33 points in the fourth quarter, fair, but you didn't manage that ball. You didn't manage the game in the right way when you needed to. Cam Scatterbo was successful almost every time out there. Give him the ball, grind down the clock. If you had to get to a place where you had to kick a field goal, oh well, we'll see what happened. But at least you managed the clock well. We gave the ball back to them. And look what happened. An interception, guess what happened? That was because he threw the ball when he should have been running the ball. And he got caught in traffic and tried to throw over the D-line guy, and he got picked off, and that was a wrap. You know, I just feel like he's not going to make it.
This is where I will actually disagree with you. I jokingly disagreed with you earlier, but I think that had we run the ball there and picked up like what looked like was going to be the consistent case of like 2 to 3 yards, and then we would punt. I think that that's what I would have done. But had that play worked, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You know, like I think we would be praising him for staying aggressive, because the truth is that has been one of the things that we have criticized Dable about, is that he'll like revert to more conservative, scared play calling. They stayed aggressive. I'm not going to fault them for that. Dart made a rookie mistake.
Yeah, man. Scatterbo was running them boys over.
He was not right then. Scatterbo was not. He was averaging like 3.8 yards a carry. And we were in a 3rd and 7.
I think people that run game, the boys are tired. You can see it on it. You can see it in their body. They were tired.
Our guys were tired. Their guys, I mean, I'm sure they were tired, but you know, they were much more used to the altitude and everything. Yeah, because that is part of the home field advantage there for Denver. I'm not saying I disagree that they should have run the ball. I'm disagreeing that this is something I'm going to hold against Brian Dable. I do agree that if I was calling the play there, I'm running a halfback dive, forcing him to use that final timeout, and I'm punting the football and trying to flip the field, and I'm saying, come down, score 2 more times with no timeouts and 4.5 minutes left. Because that would have, even if they did, you know, barring us giving, and again, no reason to believe this wouldn't have happened, but barring giving up, you know, like a 2-3 play drive, you know, they would have had to kick an onside kick. Likelihood of them recovering that, not very high. I think running the ball there would have been the correct thing to do. But I'm not going to fault a guy for going aggressive in a situation like that when historically he's gone conservative in that sort of situation and then we kill him for it. I'm not going to do that. Do I disagree with the decision? Yes. Do I understand the logic? Yes. I'm not going to say, Dable, you screwed up massively. How could you even think to do that? You know, like I'm not going to. I don't hold it against him, is what I'm saying.
I didn't say any of that. It was a collective.
Maybe not you, but plenty of people are.
They are?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it all over Twitter.
How Dart should just clipped the ball and fell down and gave himself up rather than throw the ball. I didn't hear anybody talk about that.
No, I've seen people coming after Dable for not running the ball there. Like calling him an idiot, terrible play call, all that. So how can he
clutching it and getting down? Why did he throw the ball?
No, Dart should have, in that situation, just taken the sack, lived to fight another bad day. He's a rookie. He needs to work on that. I mean, the fact that multiple passes on that final drive where we got the touchdown weren't intercepted, he got incredibly lucky because he was just chucking up there playing hero ball. And even when he missed Jalen Hyatt on that one pass, I turned to my dad and I said, actually, I'm grateful that he missed that, because that would have been that we would have scored too quickly. But it's again, I don't fault the play call for having a passing, for calling a pass there, when at the end of the day, we've killed them for not being aggressive in those exact same situations before.
Yeah, I don't know that happened. Not by me anyway. Aggression. Maybe we're seeing aggression in a different way, because to have a rookie who is still figuring stuff out, still learning stuff, throw in the double coverage, that sounds aggressive, but it also sounds unwise as well. The sure thing with that much time on the clock is to grind the clock down. You're not doing that like that. So I don't understand that move. It's not the reason why we lost the game, I don't think. I mean, take a interception off the board. How does it look in the in the score column? Maybe a little bit differently, but I just feel like, you know what? Do what smart coaches do. You be aggressive when you have to be aggressive. Keep them on their heels when you have to keep them on their heels. Do what makes sense. You got a bowling ball for a running back. I mean, he's a grinder and he's very efficient at getting yards after the catch and breaking tackles. That's what he's there for. Use him. I don't have a problem with that. But at the end of the day, I think we can agree that Daboll is just not going to be here. You asked a question about whether the offense is going to continue to look good without Neighbors in it. I feel like Shane and Daboll, I feel better if they're not here, and we can have a fresh. Now it can't just be anybody. We discussed that. I know we were talking about doing a trade evaluator. I don't know if we're going to get to that today, but I'm game if you are. But I feel like Shane and Daboll, we're gonna have to start looking at the replacement. You know how we do it when we thought the season was over with. We started going to the mock draft. Remember how we were doing that? It's time for us to start mock drafting some head coaches and some GMs, man. Because this is not it. It's not because of this game. We've been seeing a continuous pattern of things that just have not changed over time. 3 years, I guess. 3 years at least. It's like, this is not good. So we got to change that. We'll have to scrub the whole. I hear people talking about fire everybody and get rid of the whole team. That's stupid. I'm not saying all of that stuff. All the coaches aren't bad, but when a new head coach and a new GM come in, they want their own guys. You know how that works. So there's going to be some casualties of war in that respect. But as far as the GM and the head coach, I'm ready to start mock drafting some head coaches and GMs, man. Is there like a website for that? You can
no, I've seen plenty of articles talking about potential head coaching candidates, potential GM candidates, all that sort of stuff.
It's time.
But I want to end on a happier note, because I tried to start.
Are we ending?
I do have to get going soon, but wow. I do want to talk about some of the good we saw, and I do want to talk about Jackson Dart, because we've really only we talked about him a little bit, like you said, Neighbors, Dart, Scadabo, Theo Johnson. I want to throw Daniel Bellinger in there. He's been great in his role with when Dart's come in, and we were both kind of questioning. Like, yeah, Theo, we have Theo Johnson, but what will Bellinger's role be? Will they, try to utilize him because he was good when he played? But I think that what the improvement Dart has shown week over week has been, really promising. And this kind of goes back to what does Daboll need to do to keep his job? Well, aside from winning games, but these are kind of connected, because if Dart continues to improve and play well, almost seemingly regardless of opponent, then I think that'll lead to some wins. Now, my doom and gloom about the rest of the season is more about, will they lose the locker room? Will this team split? Are they mentally tough? And historically, at the very least in my lifetime, of the last 10 to 15 years since I became a teenager, essentially, the answer to that question will be a resounding no. but different players, different mindsets, who knows? I hope I'm wrong. But if they can win some games, like San Francisco's super beat up and injured still, can we win that game? Can we beat the Bears, who Caleb Williams has certainly not been anything special so far in his career? Can we, win that game? Can we beat a team like the Raiders? Can we, will Dallas be any good? Their offense looks good, but their defense is bad. How will we stack up there, especially without a guy like Malik Neighbors? We hung 30, 40 points on them in the week 2, but whatever it is, but there are theoretically winnable games down the line, and we've seen consistently Scatabo has been giving it 110%. Dart hands the ball off to, I think it was Devin Singletary or Tyrone Tracy, and saw a guy coming in who was going to try to trip him up and threw his body in the way of that. What quarterback do you see doing that? Just to allow the running back to not have his leg tagged going into the hole and allowing us to pick up an extra yard or two. These guys are giving it everything they have. And I don't think, that should get lost in all the doom and despair that rightfully Giants fans have. Nothing about, the past 5 years has been really all that positive outside of 2022, which has now kind of been blemished in hindsight because of the kind of chain reaction it sent us down. But
man on the good note too.
But right now, I do think that I weirdly have faith in this offense to score. Like, it's so weird that I have faith in the offense to put up points. I have faith in some of the talent on this defense to kind of, hold the opposing teams in check for the most part. And I have zero faith, zero confidence that we will win games.
Makes total sense.
But, the Giants are this weird amalgamation, man, of good minds in terms of coaching, but being bad at coaching, having good players, but not being able to maximize them in the slightest, being able to score and get stops, but unable to win. But yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of, give credit there to the guys like, the offensive line, which played well. Dart, who's continued to improve. Scatabo and even Tyrone Tracy, kind of being a good 1-2 punch there. Bellinger being a reliable target. Theo making a big play here, and we won't talk about the rest of it. Wandale showing that he's still a reliable-ish weapon. We have good players, man. I just, for their sake, I hope we can find a coaching staff that can, get this team going in the right direction.
That's where we're going to end it. That's where the key is. It's with the coaching staff, man. But that's where we are. Looking forward to next week where we get a chance to do the impossible again. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Oh, man. I'm Mr. U. That's just, we are Big Blue lifers for life, man. We ain't going nowhere. So we love our New York Football Giants. If you do, give us a shout out on all social media platforms. Look forward to hearing from you guys real soon. And go Giants. Thanks, brother.